remember or not, I'm not sure. But we have implemented these with our trigger. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the scenario one more time. So the scenario is basically I would like to calculate the bookings for current year, bookings for last year, and bookings for last year. So I'm having an account. Under account, I'm having an opportunities. Based on the opportunity amount and opportunity close date and opportunity stages, I need to populate these corresponding values, whatever the pipeline amount, and then current year revenue, last year revenue, last to last year revenue. So those all things we need to store in our account level. Okay, so I hope everyone remember this scenario we discussed in when we are working with the trigger. Okay, so again, we are going to discuss with this scenario. So the scenario is basically I'm having an account. Under this account, I'm having an opportunities. So based on the these close data and the stage name and the amount value, I'm going to update in our account level. So here we need to here if you observe these requirement thoroughly, so if you observe these requirement properly, then you will get one blocker or you will get one issue here. So you may observe that issue, I'm not sure. So did you did you feel any issue with these scenario we have implemented with the trigger, right? Did you feel any issue with these trigger? First of all, did you remember what this requirement we have implemented or not?
Actually, we have implemented something related to this, but not this one.
So we have implemented exactly this one.
No.
We have calculated pipeline amount, forecast amount. So all the values we have calculated. So
We
if you
have
forget it,
no, we have
I'm going.
calculated something else.
Just one moment. I'm going to. So opportunity tree 34. So if you see here, right, we are able to calculate the all the amount. So whatever the amount, I'm populating here. Somewhere I have implemented this requirement. Yeah. So current year, last year, and last to last year. So these values initially I have calculated, and then whatever the revenue, right? So these revenue we are updating on our account level. So we discussed in our batch only. So 34. Okay. So we have implemented this requirement. Okay. So what we did based on the close date and stage name. So these amount we have calculated the corresponding open opportunity amount, current year revenue, last year revenue, and then last to last year revenue. So that's fine. I'm going to repeat the scenario. So if you forget it, then just recollect it. Okay. So the scenario is basically whatever the opportunities closed one in the year of in the current year, then we need to summarize and the corresponding amount we need to update on our current year revenue. In the case of if this opportunity is open, then all the open opportunities under this account we are going to populate as a open opportunity amount. And in the case of last year revenue, whatever the opportunities closed one in the year of last year, then we need to summarize and then populate on our last year revenue and last to last year revenue. So in the case of any opportunities closed one last to last year, we need to summarize all the opportunities that we need to update on our account level. Okay, so these things we need to discussed and we have implemented these scenarios. So do anyone remember?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So here we are having like one blocker is there. We have one blocker is there. So uh, did you feel any issue with this implementation? We have implemented trigger. So whenever opportunity record is created, or whenever opportunity stage got modified to the closed one, or whenever amount got modified, or whenever close date got modified, then we are calculating and then displaying on our account level. So for that, we have used the corresponding events here: trigger an opportunity, after insert, after update, and then after delete, after delete. So those scenarios we have considered, and we have implemented these within our tree. So so based on knowledge, okay, I'm not 100% expecting from you. I'm like just asking based on your knowledge. Okay, so did you feel any blocker or any issue with our implementation with this trigger code?
I guess it's when an opportunity of previous year is getting updated. Um, I mean, like for that we are writing a trigger. If it is getting executed, um, unnecessary instead of trigger, the patch would be good to calculate and fix them.
Why we need to go with batch here?
Because we just need to no, we just need to have a count of revenue of last year and previous year. So last year revenue amount, why the opportunity amount will get decreased or updated.
So that won't happen, right? So last year amount, if the record is available, then automatically it is going to calculate and then update on the account level. So for example, I'm having an account. Under this account, I'm having these seven opportunities. So if anything is modified based on that one, it is going to calculate and then that is going to update on our account level. So even if you're implementing batch or like trigger, that is fine. Okay, the
Okay.
logic will be same only. So if I'm
um,
implementing logic in trigger, if I'm implementing logic in batch, so everything is fine only.
I thought it's a rare scenario where opportunity of last year would get updated.
Sorry.
I thought that it's a rare scenario wherein an opportunity of last year would get updated.
Okay. So this what that's the only thing we need to remember. For example, uh, like in the case of DML operation happened on our account level, so sorry, on our opportunity level, then only this calculation will happen. Then only this calculation will happen. But the scenario here it is, for example, in this account level, in this account level, we are having uh, we are having multiple opportunities. So these opportunities are like closed one in the year of 2024, 2023, and then 2022. Okay, so based on that, it is calculated and then everything is good. So when I open same account record in the month of January 2025, okay, in the month of January 2025. So at that moment, what will happen, right? So whatever the current year revenue, it is going to display as it is. Whatever the last year revenue, it is going to display as it is. And last to last year revenue, it is going to display as it is. So if any new opportunity is created under this account, or any one of the existing opportunity modified with these details, so then only the trigger will be executed and the corresponding values will be updated on our account level. So if there is no DML operation performed on their associated opportunities, then these logic won't execute and then it is going to display wrong results. It is going to display wrong results. For example, under this account A1, we don't have any uh, we don't have any uh, opportunities that is going to create in 2025. So it should be like update the values as current year revenue is 0, and last year revenue is that is our current year revenue, and last to last year revenue is that is our last year revenue. Okay, so 2023 is last to last year, and 2024 is last year, 2025 is current year. So we need to update like that. But the thing here it is, if you're like implementing trigger, if you're like implementing a trigger, uh, so the trigger will fire only whenever DML operation perform. The trigger will fire only whenever DML operation perform. But the thing here it is not for it is we are not performing any DML operation on our opportunity. We are not performing any DML operation on our opportunity. So whenever year is changed, okay. So when move from 2024 2024 to the 2025, you will never change any of the opportunity by default. So in that case, right, if you are like executing our batch apex, so with the help of like batch apex, we are going to execute one time, then it is going to calculate the values. Then it is going to calculate the values with the proper values. But the thing here it is, if you would like to receive values immediately, if you would like to get values immediately, then we need to go with this trigger. So why? Because trigger it is going to execute in synchronous mode, and it will reflect the results whenever record is successfully perform the DML operation. But in the case of like BatchApex, it won't give you results immediately, and it will take some time to perform all these logic. Okay, and it will execute like in a batches mode, and it will take some time. So due to all these things, what we can do, we can go with we can go with the combination of these two, or if customer is okay with if customer is okay with the existing like a delay, like maybe if the customer is okay with the delay, so then we can go with only batch effects. But in the case of if customer is not okay with the delay, then what we need to run these batch effects yearly once. Whenever year got modified, then we need to run these batch effects yearly once, and then in remaining scenarios we can implement a trigger. Remaining scenarios we can implement trigger. So are you able to get it? What I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, Shrikant.
Yeah. Anyone having any question on this? If you're not clear about requirement, then even if you're like discussing about code and all those things, that won't give you any results.
So yearly once in the sense, like starting of the year, so that the year,
Starting of the year.
yeah,
Starting of the
great, okay.
We need to write schedule class also, like, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just explaining the scenario. So when we need to go for batch application instance, so it is one of the perfect example. So that's why I am sharing with you. Okay, so when we need to go for batch instance, so here I'm explaining the necessity. So why we need to go with the batch epics here? So why can't we go with our like a trigger or like any other scenario? So why we need to go with explicitly here to go with these batch epics?
Yeah, clear, Shrikant.
Srikanth, if once in a year we update all these account forecast, like in the
Mhm.
January 1st, then once everything is updated, then automatically the reports must get generated. The showcasing for and the forecast, the total of all accounts of the company. Like, can we do
Sorry.
something like this? After the batch class, everything is updated, like everything is up to date. Then automatically a report must get generated showcasing the total revenue of the company, like this.
Yeah, those things we can do it. Okay, but we need to like go with the scenario, right? That's what I'm saying. So we can do all those things as you mentioned. We can showcase the report and those functionalities. We can do it.
We can do save way on like finish method on batch class or not.
Yeah, so those are things we can do it. Report generation is like a next step. But
Okay.
here I'm like trying to explain the scenario. So why we need to go with batch apex? So generally in our interview, so they are going to ask you these scenarios. So why we need to implement batch apex for this requirement, or when you go for batch apex? Okay, so at the time we need to explain all these things. So when we need to go with the batch apex in the sense, if you would like to execute periodically, okay, within a time period, do you want to execute it without manual inputs? Okay, so irrespective of the DML operation, if you would like to execute any action, okay, and the attention is not required immediately. So attention says the output is not required immediately. So in the case of our DML operations, in the case of our trigger, it is going to execute immediately and it will perform the, it will give the DML results. Okay, so in the case of like a batch apex, it won't execute immediately and it is going to execute in asynchronous mode. It is going to execute in asynchronous mode. So the results you will get after some time. So because of these things, majority of the people they will go with the synchronous operation. But some of the scenarios we need to process with asynchronous. Okay, it is one of the scenario. So similar way, if you're like trying to modify any of the account status. So for example, I would like to verify. I would like to verify the account status. Okay, so the account status is basically so dormant, customer, prospect. So they are having a different account status. So if is there any active opportunity available under that account, then we are going to keep it as open. In the case of there is no active opportunity available in last 6 months or last 10 months or last 1 year, last 2 years. So then they are going to go. They are going to mark it as a inactive account or like a dormant account. Okay. So in the case of, so if the opportunity is closed one, then we need to update the account as we need to update the account as uh, like a customer. Okay, so depending upon the opportunities created and then the opportunities updated, then we need to go with these type of like accounts. So generally, we are going to run these account. We are going to run this account batch. So every day, so that it is trying to verify in last 6 months is there any opportunity created out of this account or not. So if there is no opportunity created, then we are going to mark it as dormant or like inactive. Such kind of things we are going to use it. Such kind of things we are going to use it. Okay. So in the case of uh, we are going to use a lead batch as well. So the lead is basically the lead status also we are going to verify. So there is no update happened in last 6 months or there is no update happened in last 1 year. So at the time we are going to mark as lead is does not qualify. So not qualified. Such kind of status we are going to update it with the help of our batch apex. So here it is going to execute yearly ones, or like it is going to execute 6 months once, or it is going to execute monthly ones, or it is going to execute with daily ones. So depending upon our requirement, we are going to schedule it. So initially we need to implement the batch apex, and then with the help of like schedule apex, we are going to implement this one. Okay. So far, is it clear? Are anyone having any question on this?
No, Srikant, clear.
Srikant, I don't have a question on this, but I have one general question. Suppose the batch is running like once in a year, and we have like more than 50 million accounts on which the
Mhm.
batch is running. So in first set of batch, 50 million records would get updated and processed. What about the rest? Like we need to collect all these processed IDs. Then we need to once again run the batch class for the rest IDs. Like how we
Yeah,
need
we
to.
can do it. In the case of if it is more than 15 million, then what you can do, you can process in two different batches. So you can apply some conditions like up to this year, you can go with one batch, and up to this year, you can go with another batch. Okay, so it's like a common things only. We will face in our implementation. So if you are getting such kind of things, then we just need to adjust the filters in our start method. So whatever the records we are going to fetch it. So within that, we are going to adjust the filters.
Okay, so okay, it's good to go year wise because suppose the company is running past 10 years, then we would
Mhm.
go by year, like yearly, like 2024, then 2025, like this will go. Otherwise, there would be another better approach because 10 times the batch should get run for each year.
So that's depending upon number of records. Okay,
Okay.
so these batch also it won't execute immediately, right? So these batch also it is going to divide our records into number of batches, and then it is going to execute it. So if you would like to create a different batch apex, that means if you are really having a large data, so then only we can go with that approach. Otherwise, we can go with a single batch.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
So any other questions here?
Yes.
Okay. So now you may be having some idea why we need to go with the batch apex. So now I would like to implement these batch epics as I mentioned. So if you would like to implement in a batch epics, you can define a public or global access specifier. And here we are going to use our instance name. So sorry, our interface name. So with the help of this one, whatever the properties of these interface, we are able to implement in our class here. So here, whatever the database dot stateful and database dot allow callouts, database dot allow callouts. So these interfaces we are using. If you would like to make an callouts for batch apex, then we need to use this one. In the case of if you would like to pass data from one batch to the another batch, then we are going to use stateful here. So in this requirement, what I'm going to do, I'm trying to simply update the sequence number. So whatever the object we are having, simply I would like to update the sequence number. So then what I'm going to do, simply define the start method. So within the start method, I'm going to query the records, whatever the records we want, and then I'm going to update the I'm going to update in our execute method here. So if you see here, right? If you would like to process, if you would like to pass value from one record to the another and one batch to the another batch, then as I mentioned, we need to use a database not stateful interface, and here I'm going to use these static and decimal. So here we are going to use these type of data only. So we can use this one, and whatever the batch values, right? Simply I'm iterating here so that we will maintain these static values. We will maintain these static values here. So here what we can do, whatever the business logic we are going to implement it, and we will receive the like uh, these corresponding variables. With the help of this one we are able to get the integers and then decimal values. And then so if you would like to track the how many records got failure and how many records got success, then what we can do, we have another process available, that is async apex job. That is async apex job. So with the help of this one we are able to get the success and then failure jobs about these corresponding batch epics. Okay, so if I'm executing these batch epics, if I would like to know the status of the batch epics and the number of errors what we are getting, so whatever the errors we are getting, how many jobs got processed, how many got failed. So if you would like to know all these details, then simply I can go with these option. So async apex job. So from this one we are able to query the success and then failure results about our batch. Whatever the result, do you want use it? you can simply query like this. So generally what we are going to do in the finish method, we can query with the help of like async apex job, and then we are going to like we are going to send an email with the help of these async apex job. Okay, will send an email with these async apex job. Okay, so within this async apex job, within this async apex job, as I mentioned, status. So and then number of errors. So then after, so job items to process, and then total jobs. So then after depending upon your requirement, whatever the fields you want, you can simply query and then you can use it. So whatever the class you want, and then whatever the fields of these async apex, you can query and then you can use it. Okay. So here these details, whatever the details you have queried, you can simply send it with the help of like email. So we are going to use these corresponding things like uh, whatever the whatever the like whatever the data we are having. So whatever the fields we are having, so simply we are sending in our email with the help of email message. So with the help of this one, we are able, these all are the fields of async apex job. Okay, so these are the fields, but it's not accessible for us. Okay, these async apex job, it is also one of the custom object, sorry, one of the standard object. It won't be accessible by us. Only we can query the records. Only we can query the records. So whatever the values we are having, so with these values, we can prepare we can prepare one email and then we can dispatch it. Okay, so our actual business logic, we are going to implement here. So whatever the records I am fetching, whatever the records I am fetching, so simply I'm going to uh, simply I'm going to fetch those records, and then I'm going to process in our execute method. So whatever the records I'm fetching, simply I'm modifying the value here. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to update the values. I'm going to use the values here. So these values is basically, it is going to transfer straight from one batch to the another batch. Okay. So any questions so far? So about this batch.
Yes, in the finish method, async effects job, can you put on some filters that we can check for this current batch? What is the processed items?
So we already having some filters. Maybe I'm not showcasing here, but generally what
Because
we can do.
okay,
So I think a picture.
like
So
batch class name.
already from what we are going to do, we are going to apply one filter. The filter is a current batch job ID. So here you can easily get the batch job ID. So with the help of batch ID, we are going to fetch the records. So here you need to use where ID equal to your batch ID. So those things you can mention.
How do we get the batch ID?
Sorry.
I mean, how do we get the current batch ID? Because
So with the help of these database dot batchable context, right? So with the help of this one, BC dot get the ID, so that you batch ID, so that you are able to get
okay,
the current
okay,
batch ID,
got it.
execution batch ID.
Current batch class ID.
Yes.
Okay. And this current batch ID would give all the records processed in the executed execute method n number of times. Like it will have all the
Yes.
details. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So when these batch specs executed and what are the details, everything is available. So these finish method, it won't execute a number of times. As I mentioned, right, finish method is going to execute only once.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, then. So, any more questions on these bash effects? So, any questions on this batch?
Uh, I mean, just in real time, in Finish method, like this is one of the great examples that we make use of async apex job in order to send an email to know the current job details. Uh,
Mhm.
like this, can we like what else we have? What else we can make use in Finish method?
So, already we discussed it, right? We can enqueue like the next batch over here.
Next
So if you
batch.
like to initiate chaining the next batch, you can initiate from our finish method only. So you cannot do it in our execute method, or you cannot do it in our start method. Only you need to do in our finish method if you would like to call the next method.
Okay.
Okay.
And I just heard one question wherein can we have multiple batch execute batch from Finish method?
Yeah, we can do it.
But is it a best practice to get these things?
So if it is really requirement, then you need to do. So otherwise, you cannot go with that. But as I mentioned, right, so you can initiate multiple batches from the finish method. That's not an issue.
Then what about the heap size limit?
We have like 135 KB.
Okay. And CPU limit, it won't hit if we like 10 batch, if I call 10
Minimum time
batches.
limit is like
Finish.
2 minutes. So it is going to expire after 2 minutes.
Okay. So we need to consider that along, and after considering only, we have to put this execute batch.
Yeah.
And why instead of putting multiple batches here in just one single finish method, why can't we chain it?
So that's what I'm saying. So if you would like to execute everything in a single batch, that you can do it. Okay. Generally, we
Okay.
are going to do this chaining process. Okay.
Okay.
So if you would like to execute in a single batch, and if you have any specific requirement like that, then only we can go with this approach. Otherwise, we are going to do chaining process only.
Okay.
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 So any more question from anyone?
Yes, Srikanth. In
Yeah.
real time, we need to mostly write these batch classes or with triggers only.
So that's depending upon our requirement, right? So just now we discussed one requirement that require both trigger as well as a best class. Okay.
But
So
most of the
to
time, we
implement,
are dealing with more number of records, right?
yeah, not only more number of records. Okay.
Mm.
So if your requirement is not satisfied with our existing features like Apex classes and Apex trigger, then we
Mm-hmm.
can go with this.
Okay.
Shrikant,
Yeah.
just in general, I'm asking, can you tell me any one of the batch class that you have written in your project, like like the bigger batch class, something very different project that you should let us know.
So like these sales process, there is one batch we have implemented. And I have like a few others as well, but not bigger. So what about the account status and those all things available? So if I go with this one, it is one of the like a batch. So within the batch, I have used like a iterable. So why? Because I'm going to use multiple child accounts. So multiple child records. So if I am using multiple child records, then I should go with like one iterable. If I'm using our database at query locator, it is throwing an error. Because of that, I have used like this iterable of account. Okay. So here, why I need to go with why I need to go with iterable instance. So I'm able to see. Just one minute. Sorry, team. Yeah. Uh, so here I have in a scenario like I need to use iterable. Yesterday in a previous class also we discussed it, right? If you are having a child accounts in your Sackwell, then you need to go with iterable only so that you can get the maximum number of records. So if you're using database query locator, if you're having a child records within your record, then you will having an issues. So here I need to calculate the different amounts. Okay, I need to calculate the amount. Because of that, I am using these corresponding iterable here. So I have multiple child accounts, and here based on that, I am going to calculate the same amount only, like current year, last year. So here I am having multiple things. Okay, so I need to get the opportunities as well as I need to get the project. So and I need to get the some another record as well. So because of that, I'm going to query from our account level. So the disadvantage of these batch apex is basically we can query from one object only. We can process one object records only. So if you see here, right, if I would like to query, then what I'm going to do, I can go with only account object. Okay, so account and then associated child. If you would like to process multiple object data, then it's not possible in our batch apex. You need to go with different batches here. For example, I would like to process account object data as well as I would like to process contact object data. Then it's not possible in single batch. Even those are like in relation, it's not possible. What you need to implement a separate batch. Okay, so here the main disadvantage is basically you can query only one object data. We can query only one object data. So that's the main disadvantage here. Okay, so here, as I mentioned, right, whatever the requirement we are having, we have implemented. Along with that, we have some project and then other data also there. So because of that, I have implemented like this. So the I'm iterating with our account level, and I'm iterating with our uh, like chain records, so that I'm going to execute these batch epics. Okay, so the same requirement we have implemented again, right? But here we are having like our real-time requirement, actual requirement. Okay, so any question on this?
No, Shrikant. Shrikant,
Yep.
can you just say me one of the challenges that you faced while writing batch class and it took time for you to resolve?
So it's not like challenge actually. So when I have like worked with the sharing process, that is a little bit hectic. Okay, so the sharing process is basically whenever account record is owner change, or whenever account is changed, they are having multiple subchain records is there. Okay, so we need to update, we need to get all the subchain records, and we need to update on the change. So that's one of the hectic process I did. Whatever the sharing settings and everything, I need to recalculate it based on the reparenting and then account updation. Okay, whatever the child records, that may be having hundreds and then thousands of records. So those all records I need to fetch it and then recalculate the sharing, and then finally we need to update it.
Is it
Okay,
a trigger
that is
scenario?
that's a trigger scenario, but it is going override the limitations. Because of that, we need to go with the batch apex.
Okay. In BatchApex, uh, okay. I
Okay,
mean, how did you query the records where owner is changed?
so I'm going to pass the data from account to the batch apex. So these batch apex initiated from our account. Okay, and then these batch apex data we are going to process in our batch apex only, but it is invoked from trigger. So at the time of
Okay.
trigger, it is receiving the parameters and then process all those things. Okay. So it is one of the thing. And now what we can do, we would like to just go with one of the batch here, and then we will try to execute. So how it is going to execute, and then what will happen. Okay. So I'm going to use one batch apex here. So whatever the account revenue or like a batch example, anything, if I go with one of the batch here, then it is going to execute. It is going to execute like in batch mode. So how it is going to execute and everything, we can discuss it now. So as I mentioned, so here I have usually like only database at batchable interface, and then I am like able to query these corresponding field values here, whatever the records available, right? These values I am able to query it, and then I am passing it to the our execute method. So within the execute method, whatever the records you have queried, you can simply specify as a list of account and then ACC list. So whatever the records we are querying, you can simply specify the corresponding return type here. So once we are able to query, so here I am going to use current year, last to last year. So here I'm like trying to update the records, whatever the logic we have implemented in our trigger. So you can like just copy paste the code here. You can just copy paste code here. Okay, but the only thing here it is what we are going to do. I am like simply using in like this batch whatever the records we are querying. So apart from that, the trigger logic and then our batch apex, everything is same only. Okay, so these batch initiated by some other process are like schedule by based on the schedule, it is going to execute. But in the case of our triggers, it is going to execute based on the DML operation. So in the case of like a batch, you can initiate manually as well. But in the case of like uh, but in the case of like these trigger, you cannot invoke manually. So whenever DML operation perform, then only that is going to execute. Okay, so it won't invoke by any manual steps here. Okay, so these all things we need to remember. So now in this start method, right? So we are able to query the records in this uh, in this like execute method. I'm going to uh, like implement the actual logic. So while implementing the actual logic, we need to simply specify whatever the object you are querying, the same object name, and then these corresponding variable here, so that these variable you can use in your these variable we can use in our execution. Okay, so if you would like to like use any other procedure, we need to like verify whether it is compatible or not. Like if you would like to call any batch apex or like all those things, first we need to compatible it, and then only we can implement other things in this continuation. Okay, so as of now, what I did, we are able to calculate these current year, last year, and then last to last year. So now I'm going to like execute this account revenue batch. So if I would like to execute, what I can do, I can simply go with our class name. So and then I'm going to create the instance. Okay, and then so as I mentioned, database dot execute batch. So here whatever the instance name we are having, so I'm going to like specify that one, and then whatever the like batches we are having, I'm going to process it here. So simply I'm giving like the batches as file, and then I'm going to like execute this one. So if you would like to execute your batch apex manually, then you need to go with this approach. Okay, and the next thing here it is, if you're not providing these batches, by default it is going to consider as 200. If you're providing explicitly, then you can go with this option. Okay, so now I'm going to like execute this one, so we'll see. Okay, so these batch specs execution got initiated. So if you would like to verify the status, then what we can do, we can like simply go with Apex jobs here. So if you are able to navigate to the Apex jobs, so that you are able to track the your batch execution. You are able to track the your batch execution. So if you see here, right, these 8/14, 2024, 3:33, our batch Apex execution got completed. So here total 26 batches and then 26 batches processed. So zero failures and we are able to like get the completion details. So and then Apex class. So whatever the like Apex method, Apex Java ID, everything we can add here. Everything we can that means by default that is available based on your requirement. You can get any one of these values. Okay, so these Apex apps is just helping you to monitor your jobs. So any more question from anyone? Any question on this?
Shrikant,
Mhm.
we can track the job ID only of batch and queuable. Apart from it, do we can we get the batch ID? Like future, we do not have. What about schedule job?
Schedule job is having separate batch ID for
Separate.
that, separate
Okay.
schedule ID for that.
Schedule ID, schedule job.
Yeah.
For batch and queuable, we have job IDs.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Ask.
So any question from anyone?
So
Yeah.
we take Apex job ID as a batch ID, sir.
Sorry,
Means it has generated Apex job ID, no, sir.
you cannot update the job ID. Okay, it's a predefined value generated by Salesforce. So you cannot update a batch ID. Okay. So any more question from anyone? Okay. So, if you're like if you're like aware of like these batch epics, then what we need to do, these batch epics, it never execute. These batch epics, it never execute by default. It should be invoked by manually, or it should be invoked by any other processor here. Okay. So here, what I can do, so if I go with like these batch apex, so these batch apex, as I mentioned, it should be invoked by either trigger or like a I can go with like another batch, or I can call it from the Apex class, or we need to call it from the developer console, or we need to initiate from the schedule Apex. Okay, so wherever do you want to like execute this one, what you need to, you just open these corresponding things, and then we need to create an instance for our class, and then we need to write like the database dot execute batch, so that whatever the instance name you are having, you just need to use this instance, and whatever the bases do you want to provide, you can simply provide the bases, so that it is going to execute properly. Okay, so these code you are going to like keep it in a trigger. This code you are going to keep it in our like Apex class, and you are going to keep it in our schedule Apex. But as I mentioned, right, these Apex classes, these batch Apex, it won't execute by default. Okay, it should be invoked by another process.
Shrikant,
Mhm.
if we are invoking a method from a flow and that apex method is actually invoking a batch class, so this is a possible scenario. Like indirectly, we can call a batch class
Flow
flow.
directly is not possible. We need to call from the invoker
Indirectly,
method. From the invoker method, you need to call the batch apex.
yeah. So indirectly is possible.
Yeah. Okay, so now what we can do, we can simply go with one of the schedule apex. From the schedule apex, we can call it. Okay, so for example, if I go with schedule apex, what we can do, we are simply implementing in schedule apex. We don't have any much methods. We have only one method available in our schedule apex, that is execute. But we should really take care about these cron expression. So this cron expression, based on the cron expression, we are going to execute our, we are going to schedule our class. Okay, so that's why when we are working with schedule apex, in schedule apex, we don't have any much lines. So we have only a few things available. So those are a cron expression that we need to remember, and then we are having a execute method. Apart from that, we don't have any. And in these schedule apex, right, what we can do, we are going to use we are going to use few things here. So those are uh, those are schedule in another process, or if it is having a limited code, and if you have a limited functionality, then you can directly write in this execute method. For example, if you would like to update the records, or if you would like to modify the records, so maybe a few records. Okay, so then you can go, you can directly write it here. But in the case of if you're having large number of records, then you need to write it in a batch apex. That batch apex you can invoke from our schedule apex. Okay, so if you would like to implement schedule apex is always helping you to execute your batch. What is this? Execute your batches in periodical time. So whatever the cron expression you have specified, based on that, it is going to execute it. So here you need to use an interface called schedulable. You need to use an interface called schedulable. Okay, so within the schedulable, what you can do, within the schedulable, what you can do, we are using an execute method. So within the execute method, you can write whatever the logic you want. So there is no finish method and there is no start method here. So here we are just initiating in a batch apex. So generally we are going to use to initiate in a batch apex, and to execute some basic code. Okay, and here you need to remember one thing here, that is a cron expression. That is cron expression. So with the help of this cron expression, we are able to execute our batch apex. Okay, so depending upon our requirement, whatever the time you want, whatever the a time you want, you can simply schedule it. For example, if I would like to schedule, then we are having two processes available. One is a manual schedule, and then the second one is with the help of these cron expression, we can schedule it. So if I go with manual schedule, these Apex classes, if I go with Apex classes, then we have an option called schedule Apex. We have an option called schedule Apex. So if you go with the manual schedule, we need to select the corresponding class name, and here we are having limited options compared to our cron expression. So I'm going to give the schedule job one. So simply I'm giving name as a scheduler job one. So like this I'm giving the name, and then I'm going to choose the class here. Whatever the class I'm having, schedule class, I'm going to choose the class, and then schedulable like a builder. So if you would like to go with this one, then we are having an option called weekly, monthly. So if I would like to execute every Wednesday, I would like to execute every Tuesday, or I would like to execute so every weekdays. So if I'm choosing this option, then automatically what happen? It is going to execute every weekday. If I would like to execute every day, then I need to select this option. Okay, and here, so you need to provide the a start time as well as end time. Okay, so maybe up to 2030, or up to 2040, or 2050. So until that you can schedule your you can schedule your schedule apex. So here whatever the start time and whatever the end time, so then after I am going to choose the these corresponding time when it is going to start. Okay, so at the time it will move to the queue, and it will take some time to complete the corresponding procedure. So here you can choose the time
when you can start executing. So the next thing here it is, here we are having we are having an option called with hourly basis. So we don't have any minutes basis. So it is going to execute in a hourly basis. So you, if you see here 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like this. So that's why, so here you are able to execute only in hourly basis, and you must need to provide these end date here. So and then we are having values Sunday, Monday, this one. If you would like to execute daily, then we can go with this option. In the case of if you don't want execute in a daily, and if you would like to execute in a weekly ones, whatever the day do you want, you can simply set that one. So in the case of monthly, so if I go with the month option, so every month, on which day do you want to execute it, like a first or like a 10th or like a 14th. So in the case of if you would like to execute the last day, so we are not sure, right? That may be like a 30, 31st, or like a 28, 29. So that's why if you choose this last option, then by default it is going to consider as last day. By default it is going to consider as last day. So if the month is 30 days, then it is going to execute at 30. And if the month is 31st days, then it is going to execute in 31st. And if the month is like having 20 8 days, then it is going to execute at 28th. And the month is having like a 29, then it is going to execute at 29 days. Okay, so whatever it is, simply we have selected all the options here. Okay, and then so of every month. Okay, so every month on the first Sunday, or we are having first, or second, or a third, fourth, and then last. So like this, we can choose the date here. So and then, so when do you want to execute it, on which day do you want to execute it, we are able to select, and then we can schedule it. But the thing here it is, if I go with the cron expression, whatever the cron expression we are having, we can simply build it, and then we can add it here. We can add it here, so that once you are able to add your cron expression, based on the cron expression, it is going to execute it. So in order to explain cron expression, it will require some time. So maybe we can discuss in our next class. But as of now, what we can do, the schedule apex, we can initiate from our manual process. So simply you can go with go with the option. Okay, so today you can try with the schedule apex with schedule apex with manual. So like in our next class, we can discuss with these cron expression. So if you would like to track the schedulable, then what we can do, we are having schedule actions, schedule jobs. So here you can get the corresponding schedules, whatever the values you are having. So whatever the jobs you have scheduled, everything available here. So here you can see where it is was started, and where it is was end. Okay, so whatever the time it is going to start, and then whatever the time it is going to end. And then so whatever the time it is going to it is going, whatever the time it is going to start in next batch. So those all things available here. So in the case of these scheduled jobs, if you would like to track it, you can simply navigate to the scheduled jobs in your quick find, and then you can track it. Okay. So any questions so far on this schedule?
If in the schedule class we are calling a batch class, and we are scheduling it with any of the approach. So in the schedule job, can we find the job items processed, number of items processed?
Java item process in sense, so again, that is in a batch apex only. So with the help of batch apex, we're able to track it.
Okay, so okay, so the schedule job will be related to async apex job to track it.
Yes.
Okay, got it, got it.
Okay. So any more question from anyone? Okay then. So tomorrow is a holiday for you, or like tomorrow is working day for you? Okay, okay. Okay then. So we can discuss like these cards question in our next class. So probably on our Friday we can continue the time. Okay. So anyone having any questions so far? Okay then. So if you don't have any questions, we can feel free to drop. Any questions?
No, Shrikant.
Okay then.
Thank you,
So we can
Shrikant.
Friday.